Thank you, and good morning. Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're really excited to share with you some new functionality today. And as mentioned, the talk is Databricks without disruption. So we're going to really be focusing on catalog federation, Hive Metastore, Glue, Snowflake, and more. And just before we jump in, to quickly introduce myself, I work on the product team, and I work on catalog interoperability. So that's really focusing on making sure you can bring all your tools to Unity Catalog that your organization needs.
Yep, you can hear me. So hi, my name is Milos. I'm a software engineer at Databricks. I'm also tech lead of a team building Lakehouse Federation and Catalog Federation. I'm based in Belgrade office in Serbia.
Awesome, yeah. So to kick things off, we're just going to really start with the motivation for this session. And this is a quote that we hear from customers, which is, hey, I want to use Databricks in Unity Catalog, but I have an existing catalog, I have databases, and I don't want to do a bunch of heavy lifting. And I'm guessing for a lot of you in the talk who came today, this will resonate with you. And with Lakehouse Federation, Unity Catalog is meeting your data where it is. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Because our goal is that you do not have to sacrifice things like data governance, you don't have to pay for additional ETL, just to leverage the tools that your team wants to use. At a high level, the agenda, we're going to start with just giving a lay of the land on what Lakehouse Federation is, why we built it, what it looks like, how it works, and then we're going to jump straight into demos. So we'll focus specifically on Catalog Federation for today, and as mentioned, we're even going to show off some stuff we just built that's going into private preview. Then we'll just wrap up with what's coming up. And a brief forward-looking statement, just a quick disclaimer that when we do talk about things that aren't in the product today, please keep in mind that it's roadmap functionality, so it is subject to change. Awesome. So with that, we're going to introduce some challenges. And we see these challenges come from data silos, where a customer who manages multiple platforms often has to resort to copying data between those platforms. And this creates these data silos that come with a lot of side effects. So we're going to highlight some of the top three that we see. The first one is that your assets are fragmented, your data and AI assets. And so from a user's perspective, that means there's no single unified place to view all the data that they need. We also see scattered policy management, and this really increases the administrative burden when you're trying to struggle to maintain security. And then lastly, there's of course increased costs, right, that come from the redundant compute and storage if you're trying to replicate your data in multiple places. And so we're going to introduce some team members because we're going to have a fictional team for today's demos. And so I'll start with Barbara, our business analyst, and we'll just have some quotes. We're going to kind of interview them as we go through it today. And when we ask Barbara what she thinks about data silos, she just wants to worry about running her workloads without worrying where the data lives, right? She doesn't really care where it's stored. She could care less. When we talk to Paolo, who's our platform architect today, managing multiple platforms for him means struggling with often coarse-grained access controls and manual approvals. So he's not really excited about this, and we don't blame him. And last, but definitely not least, we have Dimitri, the data engineer. And for Dimitri, he's really worried about this duplicated processing across the systems, because this is going to drive up our costs. So now that we've introduced you to the team, we're going to talk a little bit about Unity Catalog and how we think we can help them. Great. So our goal is to unify the Lakehouse with Unity Catalog. And how do we do this? Well, we add interoperability. First, as you can see in the diagram, we have support for Unity REST and Iceberg REST open APIs. And our goal is that you can bring any client, whether that's a Delta or an Iceberg client, to Unity Catalog and all your assets that you store there. We also give you the ability to govern data from any source with Lakehouse Federation. So you can see that we're trying to solve this equation on both sides with interoperability. We want you to be able to use any client to access data governed in UC, And we also want you to be able to govern any data from any source with Lakehouse Federation. And we think this is a really powerful combination for our team that we just introduced and all the challenges they face. And for today's discussion, I'll get my little pointer out, we're really going to focus on Lakehouse Federation, this bottom part. But if you have any questions, please let us know. There's a lot of great presentations on using any client with UC2 this week. Great. So the goal of Lakehouse Federation is to meet your data where it is. And honestly, we connect to a lot of things. It was hard to fit all of the logos on this slide. But the big takeaway, right, is that Unity Catalog is at the middle of all these sources that we connect to with Lakehouse Federation. And Unity Catalog doesn't just manage tables. It manages AI models. It governs files, your notebooks, and your dashboards. So we want you to be able to have all your assets side by side with what you federate to as an external data source to make this a really unified governance solution. And now that I've given you a little background on what it is, here's what it looks like. So the main steps involved in federation is connecting to, discovering, and then governing your data. So we'll start with number one here. This is just a screenshot from Databricks. And you can see that there's a bunch of drop-down options for the connection type that you can authenticate to. In step two, once you've created that authentication connection, Unity Catalog will go ahead and crawl the data source and discover your assets for you. And what happens is it populates a foreign catalog next to all of your native assets. And what's really cool is you don't have to worry about keeping these things in sync, right? We make sure that everything is up to date, whether you're changing that data from Unity Catalog or you're changing it from the external data source that you've federated to. And then once you've set this up, which Milos will demonstrate today, you can start applying governance and Unity Catalog features like auditing and lineage on day one, right? So you didn't move any data, and you get a ton of benefits with Unity Catalog, and your users can start accessing that data through Unity Catalog. And that's what we're really excited about, because we know the pains of moving data around just to unblock your users. So in the slide where I showed all the logos, you may have seen that there was databases and then there was catalogs that we federate to. And this is a slide that's just going to give you a brief overview on those two types of federation, because they actually work a little bit differently. So when we talk about connecting to databases, how it works under the hood is that the query is being pushed down to that external database to leverage the remote compute through JDBC or database native APIs. And we see a lot of use cases for customers, but most often they use database federation for ad hoc reporting, for things that they don't want to set up a pipeline for maybe a one-off question. They also use it to conduct proof of concept works on their ETL pipelines so that you can validate things like joins and filters and transformations using live data from that external data source. Catalog federation works a little bit differently. So in this case, your query in Unity Catalog is running directly against the file storage because the table metadata is being synchronized from that external catalog into the foreign catalog in UC. And this has often different use cases for our customers. So some of them use catalog federation as a hybrid model, where they maintain data in multiple catalogs in a coexistence for a while. And they don't really have to worry about the double compute that you would often get with database federation using JDBC. Others use it as a step in migrating to Unity Catalog, and that will be something we talk a bit more about today. But if that didn't make immediate sense, I created some high-level diagrams just to show you what the life of a query looks like for both of these. So we'll start with database federation, starting with a simple query from a user in Databricks. What happens is once that query is sent in, the optimizer will translate the supported operations into the target database SQL dialect for each table that's involved in that federated query. And then, to make things as efficient as possible, we'll push down to the data source and the external compute on things like filter predicates, aggregation, scan and project. And so that's what it looks like for database federation. Catalog federation, starting with that same query, where a user's selecting and doing a couple filters. At this point in time, we actually metadata sync from the external catalog. So taking Glue as an example data source, every time you read a table in Unity Catalog, we make sure that the metadata hasn't changed on the Glue side. So say you have a producer that has maybe modified that table in Glue, we want to make sure it's a fresh read, and so that's where we synchronize just in time to make sure that it's always a fresh read from the Unity Catalog side. And because we do that, we can actually just execute the query directly on the underlying storage. So that's a bit of background on what Lakehouse Federation is. And now we're going to jump into some demos. So now that I've given you a little overview of how it works and what it looks like, I'll hand it off to Milos.
Yeah, thank you. Right, let me switch. No, it's for. Yeah, all right. So yeah, I'll show you how you can create a federated catalog. What features do we get, and what do we get with federated catalogs in Databricks, and how we can use it in Databricks. So our federated catalog that we will be creating will be a mirror of our AWS Glue database. Databases in Glue will be mapped to schemas in Unity Catalog. And as you can see here, we have a simple database with one example table. And as a first step, to create a federated catalog, we'll need to create a connection. And for the connection, we need to provide some basic information first. We have to give the connection a name. We need to provide the type of the connection. As you can see here, there are a lot of different types of connections. So we can connect to various data sources like Google BigQuery, MySQL, Oracle, Postgre, and for our case, we will be using Hive Metastore connection. As a Metastore type, we will choose AWS Glue. And once we filled in these details, we can go to the next page, where we need to provide AWS credentials and information. So as a region, we will be using US East 1 and AWS account ID we can get from our AWS console. And we also need to provide service credentials. So service credential is something already pre-created, and it contains the IAM role that we previously defined on AWS. So this IAM role has a policy that allows basically Databricks to connect to AWS Glue database. All right, so once we have these details, we can create the connection. It is successful, and we now have a prompt to create a federated catalog using this connection. Name is already pre-filled and connection type, and we have to provide a couple of more details. So first one is authorized paths. Authorized paths is an additional layer of security that we provide to catalog owners, so that each query that references foreign tables in this federated catalog will be checked that they belong under these authorized paths. They can be provided in form of external locations. And here from the UI, we can add one by one, but it's possible if there are a lot of authorized paths that you would need, they can be added through the notebook, UCX script, or even integrations like Terraform, and can be edited later as well. All right, so once we have the authorized path, we can also provide the storage location. So my external location that I'm using here is just a pointer to the S3 bucket. Storage location, I'll show later where it is needed. It is needed for creating like managed tables inside our foreign catalogs, but yeah, we'll show that a bit later. All right, so once we have these details, we can create the foreign catalog. Yeah, we can also define the permissions and access for the catalog, add additional metadata and tags, but we'll skip that for now. And yeah, there is a catalog, and it appears in Databricks, in Catalog Explorer. We can search for it. And as we can see here, we see the mirrored schemas and tables from AWS Glue. So yeah, we can go to schemas, explore what are the tables in this catalog, and what happened here is that we basically fetched all the metadata from Glue and created an entity in Unity catalog. So this is a federated catalog, but it provides all the functionalities that you can have with any other Unity catalog in Databricks. So you can use features like adding column masking on the table and columns. You can define permissions, which can be on table level, can be on schema level as well, and catalog level. We can now see the lineage, where these tables from the foreign catalogs are used, and insights, what are the frequent dashboards, no queries referencing this foreign catalog. So yeah, I show now how easy it is to create and access the external data from Unity catalog and unlock all the features that we love about Unity catalog. Now I'll show how we can further use these foreign tables and federated catalog in building new workloads on Databricks. So I will be creating a simple ML model that I will train. And for this ML model, we will be using the data from Cloud Object Store that's loaded in our volume on Databricks. And we will also use data that is in AWS Glue that we will be accessing through the foreign catalog to build a features table. Feature table will later be used for training this model. So let's first create this table and load volume data from the volume into this table. Okay, sometimes it can take a bit longer.
Now it's time to see if the demo gods are on our side. Yeah. The live demo is always very cool to watch, but sometimes involves some waiting.
Yeah, all right. And yeah, now we can add additional data from our Glue federated table. Well, it worked much faster. So in our feature table, we should have both this data. And as you can see, how easy it is to reference foreign tables, and when referencing, we will also respect all the permissions that are defined in Unity catalog. All right, now once we have this feature table, let's train the ML model. We're going to go through a couple simple steps to register ML flow model, import some libraries, split data into training and test sets, and finally train the model. Yeah, this might also take some time.
And so this will show up in the lineage after we've created it all?
Yeah, so that's it. If we now navigate to our feature table that we just built, we can see the lineage, where we see that our feature table has an upstream where our model is defined and using this feature table. And as a downstream, we can see that data that is used for feature table comes from my volume and from our foreign table that we federated from AWS Glue. So yeah, with this example, I wanted to show how easy was it to create the foreign catalog, and with catalog federation, how interoperability is unlocked basically, and from a single place, you can access, govern, query, and also see how these tables and data is used in Databricks.
Awesome, yeah, thank you, Milos, that was great. I'll switch back to the presentation. Amazing. And Milos just covered a bunch of stuff pretty quickly, so we will just recap with some high-level architecture on what just happened, because that was really cool. So we'll start with like where we were in the beginning, right? Which is We have 4 levels of our tech stack. We have our storage, which in the case of the demo was stored in S3. We had some data that was stored on our storage in Delta Lake, I think is what we were using in the example. We had an external catalog that our team was using. So in this case, we were using Glue. Maybe we had some EMR workloads that were producing to Glue. And in that first step, where he set up the connection, this is where Lakehouse Federation meets your data where it is. So your data is not moving, but now Unity Catalog is living side by side with your external catalog, and users can start referencing it. And that's what happened in the notebook, right? We were able to build new workloads on top of Unity Catalog without any disruption to our previous workloads that were using Glue. And we were able to build that nice feature table. And so let's revisit our team and see if we've managed some of their concerns. So when we talked to Paolo, our platform architect, he's happy because he's getting this unified governance and things like fine-grained access control and lineage, and there was no re-platforming required, right? Like we just showed you all the steps involved to get his users up and running in that 5 minutes. When we talked to Dimitri, as a data engineer, he's happy because the legacy pipelines can continue without the rewrites or the interruptions or the duplicated processing. And lastly, Barbara, who built that ML notebook for us, is really excited because the data is discoverable and queryable in all the platforms that she needs, including Unity Catalog. And so I think the team is pretty happy. But in today's presentation, we're going to actually take this one step further. And we're going to ask the question, what if I don't want my tables to stay foreign forever? Because foreign tables are awesome. But some companies don't anticipate having to synchronize multiple catalogs in the long term, right? And so that's why we're going to talk a bit more about this. And we're going to first ask our team how they feel about it. And their reaction is going to be migrations are super painful. This is why we chose Federation in the first place, right? It's an alternative to having to move around your data. And I don't blame them. Let's go through a couple of the reasons. So one of them is change management. You might be asking your users to change their code, what they reference, their access patterns. That's very painful. Another thing is that teams move at different speeds. So maybe in this case, Dimitri was not ready to touch any of those legacy pipelines, but Barbara was in a position where she was ready to use new tools. It's very hard to manage teams that are at different points in their journey. And then lastly, just one ahead. Lastly, managing a cutover period and downtime is pretty scary for production data. And this is where you're having to move your data all at once, right, to unblock the workloads in the new system that you're moving to. And so when we talk to our team, Barbara, she's just pleading that we do not break her existing workloads because she has already built this new notebook. The last thing she wants is this migration to mess things up for her. When we talk to Paolo, he's thinking about the teams moving at different speeds. Each team needs to maybe migrate to Unity Catalog on their own time without breaking downstream systems. Multiple teams touch the same data. This gets quite complex. And then lastly, when we talk to Dimitri, he's just really worried about keeping production data on time, right? There's maybe SLAs around what he builds. And so we think that we can really help our team out by enabling them to migrate foreign tables to UC. And so this is new functionality that we're really excited to share with you today with the announcement of the private preview. And we call this private preview Migrate Foreign Tables to UC because we're introducing some new commands. So the first command you'll see is that we're allowing you to alter table, set, managed. And so this can be a foreign table right here in the middle. And this is really powerful. We also provide you the ability to alter table, set external. And lastly, when you've moved all your tables, you can disconnect the catalog federation even, where you can alter catalog drop connection. And we'll show you all of these commands in action in a few moments. But just to highlight some of the benefits here, First of all, once these tables are managed or external in Unity Catalog, they're no longer read-only. So this is when you can move a lot of your production workloads if that's something that your organization wants to do. The queries become super efficient because there's no more metadata synchronization. So for some teams, this is really beneficial if you're doing like some huge cross-table joins. One thing to keep in mind is that we want this to be reversible, right? So we're not destroying any data when we're doing these commands. You can always roll back to your original state if needed. And then one thing that we'll really highlight is we're giving you the ability to set manage. So when you set this table to a managed table in Unity Catalog, you're automatically getting things like optimized layout, performance, metadata management for you. I even included like one quick slide here where we see a bunch of benefits for customers with managed tables. When it comes to increasing query speeds, we have observed 20 times faster queries because we're doing things like liquid clustering. And then when it comes to costs, we see companies benefit from like a 50% lower storage cost because we're also optimizing the storage, right, based off of the queries we see. And so this is all powered by predictive optimization. And we're not going to go into a lot of detail on this, honestly, in this talk. But I just wanted to, highlight all the potential we're giving you with this command. So now that I've given the overview, I will hand it back off to Milos to show you what it looks like.
Yep. All right. So so in previous demo, we showed how foreign catalog can be created and how it can be used to build new workloads on Databricks. And in this demo, I'll show how existing workloads on Databricks referencing remote legacy Hive Metastore can be migrated to reference foreign catalogs and to Databricks, and then demonstrate also these commands that John just showed. All right, so here I will be using pre-created foreign catalog that is now connected to the Hive Metastore. And we can see it has like 3 simple tables for this demo, customer, products, and orders. It is about a retail store. And as we can see, the type of this table is foreign. And let's assume that there is like permissions defined and what we've shown in the previous demo. So first, let's show how we can migrate workloads that are referencing this legacy Hive Metastore to reference new built-in HMS catalogs that is a foreign catalog. So on the consumer side, I have a dashboard that has a simple query that just shows most popular products in our store. And as we can see, it is currently referencing Hive Metastore. So by just updating the name of the catalog in our notebook, we can basically migrate this dashboard to reference the foreign catalog. So with really simple step, like we were able to change the code, and without any downtime, our dashboard continues working. As a second example, I have a job that runs periodically. This job basically inserts data into our table. It is also referencing Hive Metastore. And in the same way, we can just change the catalog name, and our job will continue working as it was before. So yeah, succeeded. So if we navigate back to our tables and see the lineage, we can now see that this table is now has an upstream, which is our producer job, and then also has this dashboard that is also referencing this table, which was previously not possible where we were directly accessing the Hive Metastore. Also, now all the permissions are respected that are defined on this federated catalog. All right, so with this demo, I showed like how easy it is to migrate the existing workloads referencing legacy metastores, and let's now show how we can convert these foreign tables to Unity catalog tables so that we can benefit from all the features and optimizations that John just talked about. So if we want to, so this is our catalog with a simple command where we will alter our foreign table. We can set it as external. We can also use dry run to check if everything will be successful, that there are no issues. So here we check that there are no location overlaps between, with other tables in Unity catalog. We check that table formats are supported, etc. And when we see that everything looks okay, we can simply convert the table. You can see here that source type changed to external. The command was successful. And if we navigate back, let me just see which table. Yeah, this was customers. So if we navigate back to the table and load the details page for it, we can see the type changed to external, and that also we added the property to make sure that you are aware what happened to this table, how it is external, how that is converted from foreign. All right, so what do we get with converting foreign table to external? First thing is performance. Whenever we reference this table in our queries, we won't need to do this additional step of going to the remote Hive Metastore to check the latest metadata about the table, as the source of truth for the table is now in Unity catalog. So that's the first thing. Second is we are getting, we are basically now allowing writes for glue and externally hosted Hive Metastore federated catalogs, which are currently not, which is currently not possible using foreign tables. So migrating producer jobs will be possible with converting this table to external. What I showed previously was Hive Metastore that is internally hosted, where we allow DML operations. All right, so now as we have this table as external, we can further convert this table to a managed table. Managed table gives us additional performance and storage optimizations, as you saw on the John slide previously, and we can benefit from predictive optimizations. There is data copy, like we are moving this data into the managed location for the table, and now when it succeeded, we can see the table type change to managed. All right, so we can now continue to migrate all our other tables. So this is orders, and we have the third one. That is products. So all our tables in our foreign catalog just became UC native tables. And once we converted all the tables, we can also drop the connection from the catalog and fully disconnect it from the Hive Metastore. And yeah, so with this demo, we showed like how we can migrate fully to Unity catalog and basically deprecate our legacy Hive Metastore. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Milos. Thank you for doing a live demo with typing. That is not easy. So that was really cool to watch. We're going to recap all of what Milos just went through, because again, a lot was packed into those 5 minutes or so of what he showed off. So we're going to go back to our architectural diagrams, and from our starting point, like from the beginning, right? We've had workloads that were on this external catalog. We have maybe existing databases. We have our data and our storage, and we want to use Databricks without disruption. And so the first thing that we do is we can enable Lakehouse Federation to meet your data where it is. No data copy involved here. Unity Catalog on day 1 can start providing you things like lineage, auditing. Now, in our first demo, we had Barbara create that ML workflow, right? And she created new workloads on top of Unity Catalog with our foreign table. What was cool in this last demo that Milos just showed off is that we demonstrated how you can first point workloads to Unity Catalog, but you can also have your existing workloads reference Unity Catalog if that's beneficial for your team, right? This is maybe more in the migration mindset. We see customers choose different paths when it comes to federation, but some customers actually really like the ability to switch their workloads to start referencing Unity Catalog. Things like open APIs would allow you, like an EMR workload, right, to point to UC. So this is where the interoperability story becomes really powerful, when you can let any client access Unity Catalog, and you can let any data source be available in Unity Catalog with federation. And so Milos also shared how you can migrate foreign tables to Unity Catalog in place. And so again, just to show off those two commands, he did alter table set managed. He also showed off alter table set external. And this is all in the same namespace. So like in the demo, when he was switching those workloads, because the namespace is the same as Glue and Unity Catalog, he just changed the default catalog. It was like a one-line change for that particular workload. And when you migrate the table, there was no changes to the code, right? Like that's really, really cool. And then once all the tables and the workloads had been migrated, this is when he ran the command to disconnect the catalog federation. And now our diagram is a bit simpler because you only have one layer of the tech stack in Unity Catalog. And so we're going to revisit the team, check in on how they feel about this migration path. So when we talked to Paolo, our platform architect, he's pretty excited about this because it gives the ability for teams to onboard to UC at their own pace. And like honestly, I might just go back to this diagram quick because I really want to emphasize this. The connection between the external catalog and Unity Catalog, you can stay in this for as long as you need, right? You could maybe never convert your tables, but at the end of the day, we will continue synchronizing it for you between Glue and Unity Catalog. And so that's really exciting for Paolo because that gives him a lot more flexibility with teams that are moving at different paces. When we talk to Dimitri, our data engineer, he's also pretty excited because he can incrementally update pipelines to maintain a delivery date. And so that is also something that is a challenge that we see with a lot of customers. And then lastly, Barbara had uninterrupted access. And honestly, probably didn't even realize the migration happened because she doesn't check the table type when she's in Unity Catalog. Her ML model workload would just be referencing the same table. And if it was converted to managed, she might even see improvements in her query speeds, and the storage costs might decrease for Paolo. So there's a lot of cool things happening here for the team with what we just showed. And if you are interested in trying this out, again, it is in private preview. So I'll just flash the QR code, and there's also a Google Forms. And that is just for anyone who wants to give us feedback on what we're sharing today. Because again, we're really trying to make this whole process as flexible as possible. So we really want some feedback on it. And I think most of the phones have gone down. Let's talk about what's coming soon. So for this functionality, we actually want to get into public preview quite quickly. And we also want to add Iceberg support. So that's going to be really cool for converting tables to managed Iceberg. This is something that will be a big topic at the summit. We're one of the first breakout sessions, so I'll just say, hey, check out other sessions that are on the agenda for Iceberg if that's something that's important to your organization. We've done a lot of cool work. We recently announced a partnership with Palantir, and so we're already in the works building catalog federation with that team so that you can seamlessly access data between Palantir and Unity Catalog without having to worry about, again, the double compute that has been part of the historical federation processes like JDBC. And then we don't want to stop there. Like, the industry is going towards Iceberg REST as its interoperability layer. And since UC supports open APIs for both Unity REST and Iceberg REST. We want to be able to federate to all these catalogs to give customers the most flexibility. And so, just listing like all the great names involved here: Polaris, Gravitino, Big Lake, Unity Catalog Open Source, and more. So we really have a lot of new logos that will be part of the slide just in a few months. And these are some sessions that I do recommend checking out if you are interested in what we covered today. So the first one, later at 3 p.m., Liran and the Unity Labs folks will be talking about Unity Catalog upgrades made easy. So again, if you are more focused about migration, this would be a great talk because we've collected so many tools and scripts for customers and assessment ability, and it's all integrated with what we just shared. So like the federation is part of Unity Labs, which is awesome. We also have best practices for moving to Unity Catalog managed tables. And I shared a little bit of the benefits of managed tables, but we really didn't have time to talk about it in depth. This is tomorrow with one of my teammates, Elizabeth, and she'll be covering a lot of really great stuff there. And then lastly, we even have Nationwide telling us their story about using HMS Federation, Catalog Federation, to power what was a seamless and efficient Unity Catalog migration for them. So those are some more sessions to check out. And these slides, I think, will be a part of every presentation that you see this week, so get familiar with them. The first one is please complete your survey. We love your feedback on how the summit has been for you. And then also, there's a lot of great learning opportunities, whether that's self-paced, instructor-led, or certifications. So again, thank you for starting the week with us. We're really excited to share with you everything that Lakehouse Federation can provide. And Milos, is there anything else you want to add?
Thank you. And yeah, we'll be around if you have any questions.
Great. Yeah, we'll take them